Hey Duluth, I want to take a minute today to talk to you about housing. But let's start with this statement. We have to grow our population. Why? Because growth is energy and vibrancy. It's investment, it's new, and it's also more people paying for our core city services, and that's a real thing. But growing our population means we have to get incredibly serious about our rental and for purchase housing crisis. I'm going to make two really broad statements that I firmly believe. Number one, our Duluth market is actually stuck in the middle, in the market rate rental and purchase part of the sector. And number two, we need housing, and we need it across all income levels. And frankly, tiny houses that sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars are just not the solution. Now, the city isn't in the business of building houses, but there are very tangible action steps that we can take. One, create more available building sites within city limits. You know, Duluth received $58 million in ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan funds. $34 million of that has already been allocated, with half of that $34 million going to affordable housing. As of today, $24 million still remains. Let's use some of those remaining ARPA funds to take down condemned structures. That creates available land that already has utility and street connections. And many of those are structures that are causing blight within our existing neighborhoods. Let's also use ARPA funds to do the site prep and utility connections. While it may not be the city's job to build houses, it's absolutely in our lane to get building sites ready for development. Focus on preparing the street and utility infrastructure. Right now, that goes onto the back of a developer. And developers have told me that can mean as much as $100,000 per house on the expense side of the ledger before they even start construction. Number two, let's also engage our community's large employers. Essentia, St. Luke's, Cirrus, Maurice's, Minnesota Power. They are desperate for market rate housing to retain employees and to recruit new talent. The lack of quality housing across all income levels continues to be a serious issue. And if we don't make it a city priority immediately, we risk losing one of these key employers. So what do? As they did in Spencer, Indiana, we work with those large employers to put some money on the table at closing to help buy down that initial purchase price of a new home for one of their employees. That home then comes with, maybe a title restriction. So if the employee sells within a certain period of time, maybe 5-7 years, something like that, they actually sell back to the employer at their initial purchase price, and then the employer has that home available for another employee. Number three, we need to make it a priority within planning and economic development to turn around building plans. When it takes our neighboring communities weeks, but takes the city of Duluth months to review and approve a building permit, builders just build elsewhere. Number four, let's focus on downtown. Let's focus on downtown housing. We're going to have excess commercial space post-pandemic for some period of time. Young professionals and empty nesters, they're looking for residential downtown housing opportunities, and a real residential downtown population generates the demand for retail, for restaurants, coffee shops, bookstores, grocery stores. And frankly, friends, it also improves public safety. When we have more eyes on things, vandalism, graffiti, problem behaviors, those behaviors get better. And fifth, we have to take a regional approach. It's a reality that there's just more available building space in some of our neighboring communities. We still want to grow our population within the Duluth city limits, but if people choose to live in Hermantown or Proctor or Esko or Superior, Two Harbors, that's okay. They still shop, they eat, they recreate in Duluth. That generates 1% general sales tax for our city budget. It generates the half-cent sales tax that helps improve our streets. It generates food and beverage and lodging taxes that promote our tourism industry. So while we're at 86,697, and yes, that was up 432 people in the last decade, that's still down over 20,000 from Duluth's record high in 1960 when we had a population of 106,884. Friends, at one time we were the third largest city in the state of Minnesota. Today, we're fifth, and we're within 1,000 residents of falling to sixth. We cannot be okay with this. That is not sustainable, and that means we have to get serious about growing our housing stock so we can grow our population. Not 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but next year. Thank you, Duluth.